Hello and welcome to Matt Loves Eurovision. It's my Eurovision 2025 Top 37 countdown. Place number 25, Estonia, Tommy Cash, Espresso Macchiato.
Espresso macchiato, 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 por favore.
Please do click on the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, like, share and comment below. Now, this is the second of the three Baltic countries in my countdown this year, is Estonia. Now, it may be 24 years since they had their groundbreaking win. They were the first of those sort of new wave of Eurovision countries to win, kind of in the post-Berlin Wall world. But Estonia have established themselves as reliable qualifiers in the past few years. Since 2018, they've had 2 top 10 results and only 1 non-qualification, which was in 2021. Now, their entry this year is one of Estonia's biggest and also most provocative and controversial artists, Tommy Cash. Now, Tommy Cash, whose real name is Tomas Tamamets, he's a rapper, a singer, dancer, and also a visual artist. Now, his career spans back to when he was 21, around 21. He's now 33, so it's over a decade long career. After a very tempestuous youth, he's made a name for himself with very inventive and provocative music videos in particular, often including kind of sexually explicit lyrics or themes. And over the years, he's collaborated with a lot of artists, some of them very well known, including Charlie XCX and Little Big. Of course, they've got a Eurovision connection. Little Big would have been the Russian representative in 2020 had the contest gone ahead that year. Little Big, of course, who are now exiles as they departed Russia in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Yes, they are no friends of Putin, that's for sure. Now, Tommy Cash entered the national final, Estonian national final this year, Estelal, which of course caused a lot of interest with his song Espresso Macchiato. And unsurprisingly, given his popularity and reputation, he easily won the national final. Obviously got through to the super final, and in the super final, which there's three artists in the super final, now he got over 40,000 votes from the general public, compared to the other two super finalists who only got around 4,000 and 3,000 each. Now, Espresso Macchiato is kind of a quirky mix of dance pop and rapping, obviously, electro swing. And the subject of the song is, well, it's kind of an ode to the caricatures of Italy and Italians that we find, and the lyrics that are used in it are kind of a mix of English, sort of Italian, and a kind of a mix between the two, using Italian words in English. And yes, it's quite an odd mix, or interesting mix. The visuals, as you'd expect, are an important part of this piece. So in the first music video he released for this, I think this was before the Estonian national final. Yes, before the Estonian national final. The first music video portrayed Cash as a kind of a vision of Andy Warhol eating a hamburger, that very iconic piece. The official music video, which has obviously been done subsequently to him winning the national final, is different again, and again is quite inventive and quirky, and again you can see it in the link in the description below. Now, Tommy Cash was one of the writers of this, and he co-wrote it with a Finnish songwriter, and the Finnish songwriter also happened to be the producer of this, and that Finnish songwriter-producer also happened to be one of the songwriters of Cha Cha Cha, which I don't think needs I don't think you need reminding of that song. In many ways, this is kind of the third act of the trilogy that began with Carrier and Cha Cha Cha, continued with Just and Europapa last year, and indeed Tommy Cash has worked with both Carrier and Jost with one another in the past and very recently, and they do all support each other as well. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I think Carrier was actually at present at the Estonian national final to support Tommy Cash there. Now, I find this a really difficult entry to place in my countdown. On the one hand, as I've kind of described it, it's catchy, it's quirky, clever, inventive. You enjoyed it. It's enjoyable when you hear it coming on, if you're on your playlist on Spotify. But it does leave me feeling a little bit cold. Or perhaps I should say maybe it's Tommy Cash himself that leaves me a bit cold. Whereas I think Carrier and Just had kind of warmth, charm, and a perception of being the underdog, especially the case in Carrier's case, I think. That just isn't there with the already very successful and super cool Tommy Cash. And of course, that might be a persona. The live performance at the national final felt pretty lackluster and bordering on lazy. Maybe he knew he was going to win easily, but the live vocals were not particularly impressive, and it just felt a little bit going through the motions, knowing that he was going to win. So I just think there's a almost, it feels like there might be an attempt to perhaps undermine and even troll the contest, but not in a kind of I love the contest type way. But that could just be the impression that one we're getting. So while I think Espresso Macchiato is eminently listenable to, and I think he certainly has the creativity and the experience and the money to do something interesting on stage, this isn't perhaps as high in my countdown as it perhaps could have been. Now, many of the Euro fans have turned out to really been against this. There's been quite a lot of hate, or certainly maybe it's more around Tommy Cash and his attitude, more so than the song. And that, I think, if you look at the Eurovision scoreboard, is reflected in a more modest placing, not a bad placing, but more modest placing in the mid-table on the Eurovision scoreboard app than you might have otherwise expected. However, being upset, or being hated, by a subset of a subset means pretty little. And anecdotal evidence suggests that non-Eurovision fans, or sort of more casual watchers of Eurovision, really like this, and it's just the sort of thing that they're going to enjoy on the semi-final night and on the grand final night. Now, you can also see that in the betting odds in terms of the chances of this qualifying for the final are very, very high indeed, and I think that is a very fair reflection on the likelihood of this to qualify. I don't think there's any. I think unless he somehow drops the ball completely, or perhaps drops the coffee, I should say, he will sail into that final. And I think he has a good chance to do well there. Now, again, looking again at the betting odds, he is actually in the top 10 to win the overall contest. I'm not entirely sure that is going to be doable. And certainly, although he's in the top 10 of the winning odds, that's still only 3% chance according to those odds. It remains to be seen whether he can top the televote. I suspect he won't, given there are some other really televote-friendly songs which perhaps might come across a bit warmer than he will. But yes, it will certainly do well in the televote, I should think. Now, what will he get up to at the actual contest, though? Don't rule him out doing something disruptive or possibly subversive. Of course, you can always read this on my website as well, www.mattloveseurovision.com. But also do let me know what you think, how you think it will do, what do you feel about the song, all of those talking points I've mentioned. And please do join me again soon with the countdown. Take care.